Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Wednesday edition of PWR Daily. Damian Nelson sitting alongside the man they call Meathead. Meathead, how are you?
I'm okay. I'm a little thrown off by the extracurricular going on in the studio right now, but I'll make it through the show.
Shiny things distract you easily, is that what it is? This is the Wednesday edition of PWR Daily, as I said, typically the greatest of all time. However, this week, just like last week, we're going to bring you an honors update, the Pro Wrestling Report Honors, where we give you the opportunity to honor the best of 2006.
We're giving them the honor.
We'll be coming on December 29th.
Thank you.
A very special program that we'll be broadcasting on December 29th. But the voting has been open for quite a while now. Voting goes through December 20th, and we have the results of several key categories right now. Meathead, a lot of categories are very, very close.
Good.
A lot of the voting is very, very interesting with people who are being chosen, people who are not being chosen, and organizations that are showing a lot more presence in the voting than we may have expected. The first category, where there is a dead heat between three contenders, is Wrestler of the Year.
Wow.
The contenders are John Cena, King Booker, Kurt Angle, Rob Van Dam, and Bryan Danielson. Right now, it's nearly a three-way tie. In the lead with 27.6% of the votes is Kurt Angle from TNA, which is a change last week. We told you it was King Booker who was ahead, followed up by John Cena with 26.1% of the votes. So we got 1 percentage point just about between these three people. And over 7,000 votes have been cast already in these categories.
Lighten it up.
What do you think this tells us about the person who might be Wrestler of the Year for 2006?
It tells us that he's obviously an internet fan. Fan of the internet, excuse me. And it also tells us that the internet fan appreciates hard work, not just showy gimmick stuff. I can't even speak. I'm sorry.
Gimmicky stuff.
I'm so flabbergasted by the fact that John Cena is actually receiving love from the internet folk.
And it was initially in the voting, a lot more votes were cast for for Booker T and Angle than Cena. Cena, a latecomer, has been able to catch up in the voting.
The 12-year-old's got the computers.
And is now a contender. It's going to be interesting to see who comes out ahead and wins in that category. Our private polling as well, which feeds into this, is also very is also very scattered amongst the contenders. And once we make those announcements on December 29th, 2006, as to who actually won, I think it's going to be surprising in some of these categories. Another category where things are essentially neck and neck, Faction of the Year. The contenders are D-Generation X, the Spirit Squad, Booker T's King's Court, back when he had Regal and Finlay running with him, LAX of TNA, and in general, the X of TNA. The leader right now, with 45% of the votes, is LAX.
I knew it. Thank you, guys, because you've actually made Conan worth watching again.
Followed up by D-Generation X with 37.4% of the votes, so about 4 percentage points between those two groups. DX was in the lead early on. LAX has taken the lead from D-Generation X. What do you think?
Where does the X division?
All said and done, Meathead.
Lots of X going on. That's all I got to say about that.
Ecstasy or
X division, LAX, DX, my X.
Spirit Squad and Booker T's King's Court not really getting much the voting at all. Keep in mind, Spirit Squad had a prominent play in 2006 from the Royal Rumble all the way through their send back to OVW. So very surprising. They're
not
only
all
of
them got sent back to OVW.
No, they didn't. And as I gloated about this past week with the Pro Wrestling Report, welcome back, Kenny! I said a week ago.
I think I did something wrong.
No,
here's what I said. They need to find something for Ken Doan to come on and do it. I've said it too. It was kind of obvious. And Ken Doan is where he should be.
National Promotion of the Year is the next closely contested category. The nominees, obviously, WWE, ECW, Ring of Honor, and the UFC actually thrown in there, as they are certainly an organization that is getting a lot more interest from wrestling fans as well.
I have a little bit of a phone to pick with that. How about ECW, a separate promotion?
It is
a brand.
That is frankly very separate from the run-of-the-mill WWE program.
That's another show. That's another topic.
Thus qualifying it for National Promotion of the Year.
Okay. Anyways, the results.
45.9% of the voting right now going to World Wrestling Entertainment. 42.9% of the voting right now going to TNA.
And the reason none of it is going to ECW is because ECW is WWE.
ECW with 3.1% of the voting thus far.
Because people are trying to be different. That's okay. Do your thing.
TNA, an organization that has done a lot in 2006 and had huge leaps and bounds that they've jumped over in 2006. WWE, not the clear front runner as may have been expected in this category.
No, because you know what? The internet smarks, if you will, love TNA. They just love it. They want TNA to be the competition for WWE, just like, you know, the internet smarks that all were WWE fans still love WCW because they were the competition. They were something else. They were there.
Feud of the Year, another big category. The nominees, D-Generation X versus the McMahons from Raw, King Booker versus Batista from SmackDown, RVD versus Paul Heyman from ECW, LAX versus Joey Daniels
and Christopher Styles.
Christopher Daniels and AJ Styles from TNA, and then Danielson versus Samoa Joe, who toured up all over the country with Ring of Honor. In first place right now, LAX versus Daniels and Styles from TNA with 41.4% of the voting.
Yeah, it was hot, too. And, you know, a lot of times you'll see trends in these votings where the thing that was most current is usually the topic that's, you know, the most well-received. Mm-hmm. That angle's been over a handful of months already.
Exactly. Followed up by D-Generation X versus the McMahons from WWE Raw with 37.8% of the voting. Another close contest. And that, again, another angle that's been over for a couple of months, yet still in the top.
It's been over since SummerSlam, but yeah, it's only because it was beaten over your head over and over. D-Generation X versus McMahon. D-Generation X versus McMahon. That's why it's so prominent still in your brain.
Match of the Year. 3 contestants lead the voting in that category. However, it's not as close as Wrestler of the Year. The nominees, John Cena versus Triple H from WrestleMania 22. Mickey James versus Trish Stratus from WrestleMania 22. RVD versus John Cena from ECW's One Night Stand. Danielson versus Samoa Joe from Ring of Honor. Bryan Danielson versus Samoa Joe from Ring of Honor. And AJ Styles versus Christopher Daniels from TNA Unbreakable. The leader right now is RVD versus Cena from ECW's One Night Stand. A lot of passion, a lot of emotion behind that matchup, and I still remember the sign a fan brought, if Cena wins, we riot.
Unbelievable. And, you know, John Cena knew going in there, according to WWE, he's supposed to be the face. Going into that hostile environment, he knew very well going in he was going to be the heel. He played it off as well as John Cena could have.
Yes, indeed. The second runner-up in that category thus far is actually AJ Styles versus Christopher Daniels from TNA Unbreakable.
Yeah, and those guys had a great run, too, before they became a tag team.
So much so that they respected each other enough to work together, and now we see that has fallen apart quite a bit.
Yep.
And the third runner-up, John Cena again versus Triple H at WrestleMania 22, the match everybody knew Triple H would win.
Technically, sure.
But John Cena walks out with the gold, the strap from WrestleMania, and held on to it for quite a few months.
It's from the car. He came out in a car.
He was a gangsta.
Yeah, and cars always beat Conan the Barbarian.
The voting is still up, folks. We've only gone over a few of the 14 categories that are available for voting. Make sure you visit PWRshow.com and hop on over to the PWR Honors site and vote. We've gotten a lot of notes from you guys about categories that you might like to see added and people you might like to see added to those categories. We are closing the polls, if you will, for additional voting as of now. So you can still vote in the existing categories if you want to be in anything else at this point. Our show will air on December 29, 2006 on PWRshow.com on television in Milwaukee, Topeka, and Nome. And make sure you tune in. It's going to be a wild ride.
Yeah, it's great. You know, if you've seen any of the honor shows before, Frank's got bad jokes, we've got entertainment, and we've got wrestling.
That is PWR Daily for this Wednesday. Thank you for tuning in, ladies and gentlemen. See you tomorrow with the feature match of the week.